Welcome to another one of my Let's Get Ready for Summer series. I've been doing these webinars with some of my girls, and I thought it'd be quite good to upload these on my YouTube as well, especially as we're getting ready for summer. So, today we are talking about progressive overload. Now, this is just a little POA for the girls that I'm coaching. We like to make things fun and interesting, but today we are talking about progressive overload. What is it? Why do I need it? Why is it useful? And whether your goals are fat loss or muscle building, this is going to be super, super useful for you. Now, what is progressive overload? Progressive overload is literally the gradual increase of stress being placed on the body during exercise. Now, exercise is stress. It's stress placed on our body, and our muscles grow when we put them under some kind of tension. I know it sounds painful, I know it sounds scary, but that is how our muscles are worn and torn. And then during rest, recovery, nutrition, they are built back up. Now, why is progressive overload so important? A few things. A lot of people see kind of beginner newbie gains, but actually we start kind of our body starts getting used to this and we end up plateauing. It's happened to me more than once. It's happened to a lot of the girls that I have coached and have come to me being on a plateau previously. So always pushing, always working on progressive overload. It's in the name, but it does progress us, prevents plateaus, promotes muscle growth and strength gain. Now, again, it's crucial for continued improvement when you are trying to work in the strength, endurance, overall fitness department, but also if you want to lose fat, you need to still be pushing towards progressive overload. If you want to build muscle, you need to be pushing towards progressive overload. Now, methods of progressive overload. Let's just move my face. Now, there's loads of different ways you can use progressive overload. It doesn't always mean increasing the weight. However, that is probably the most common form of progressive overload. For example, every single week or every month, you can try and increase the weight and do a little bit more than you were doing last week or last month, depending on your beginner level. It can also mean you can increase the weight even in the same set. So let's say you're doing a hip thrust. Let's say your first set, you're hip thrusting 50 kilograms. You don't have to wait until next week if you can already do 50 kilograms, 10 reps quite easily. Maybe it's a bit of a struggle, but you can do it quite easily. Then on your second set, increase the weight. Don't wait until next week. That is a form of progressive overload, and you're going to see quicker, better results. The second way is increasing your repetitions, your reps or your sets. Again, let's say you're hip thrusting 50 kilograms, but and you've maybe tried to go over a little bit and you can't, or maybe you're just running out of time and you only have a short amount of time to train and you don't want to spend your session loading plates or weights. So what you can do is you can increase the reps. Instead of doing 10 reps, you can just try and do 12 reps or 15 reps. Sometimes we can do finishers. So at the end of your set, so your last set, just so you're not fatiguing yourself, you can actually just go to failure and do as many reps as possible. Sometimes this is known as something called AMRAP, AMRAP, and it just stands for as many reps as possible. All sets, you can literally do 10 reps, 50 kilogram hip thrust, and instead of doing 3 sets, just add a fourth one in there. It still works the same way. Yes, it will take a little bit more time, but it's a better option if you don't want to increase the weight for some reason, or again, you don't want to increase the reps. And the third way you can do incremental increases is by increasing the training frequency. So this means number one, longer training sessions, maybe before you were just doing half an hour sessions. Now maybe you've got a bit of time or you've seen progress, you're a little bit motivated. You can now do a 45-minute session or an hour session. So the sets and the reps you are doing in your workout has increased. You can also increase the training frequency by doing more sets per week as well. So not only more sets per day, per workout session, but also across the whole week. Let's say before you were doing 3 days and now you're doing 4 days or 5 days. You are still increasing kind of the progressive overload. Now, methods of progressive overload. There are a few different kind of methods, and as well as incremental increases. The second way is the variety in how intense your sessions are. So these include things like your rest periods. You can take shorter rest periods between your sets and between each session and exercise as well. The tempo is just how quick or slow you are going on the eccentric or the concentric, which just means when you are lowering the weight or when you are kind of picking it up in different kind of periods. So if you are doing like an RDL, we could change the intensity in terms of the tempo by on the bottom half when we're dropping the weight down, the tempo, we can go much slower. And when we go back up, again, we can go much slower. So instead of rushing through the reps, you're just slowing down the reps. And you sometimes want to slow down the reps when you are in that stretching phase. So when you are stretching your hamstrings on your RDL, you want to go slow to really increase that time under tension. And then you can come up at just a normal level. And then you've got exercise type. You can change the type of exercises you're doing. If you've been doing some exercises for a while, it's maybe the same exercises, the same program, the same kind of order. You might want to change it up a little bit. You might want to start with something else, follow it by something else. You might want to add in newer exercises, a little bit more challenging versions instead. For example, if you are doing a Bulgarian split squat on a bench, holding a dumbbell, and now let's say you want to increase the intensity a little bit, you can go and do Bulgarian split squats on a Smith machine, or just having a barbell, even if it's an empty barbell on your back, and doing Bulgarian split squats like that. Yes, it's tough and the intensity is intense, but that is how, without changing things like reps, sets, tempo, weight, that is another form of increasing the intensity. And kind of finally, as well as all that, which is great, you still want to be keeping record and tracking how you're doing, basically monitoring your progress, just like how I encourage all the girls I coach and even online girls I don't know, and even for myself, just encouraging yourself to celebrate your wins, take your transformation pictures, film, like photograph, measure yourself, not just using the weighing scale, because there's loads of other different progress indicators, but you also want to track the reps you're doing, the sets you're doing, the workouts you're doing. At least next time you'll know what weight you were doing last time and what reps and sets you did last time, but you can also, try and beat your PB records, which is really motivating. But of course, if you are going stronger, if you are getting stronger week on week, month on month, then no brainer, you're going to start physically and aesthetically seeing that progress. And finally, listen to your body. Now, building muscle, progressive overload, weight training, strength training, what is it at the end of the day? It is stress. It's a stress stimulus. It's adding stress to your body. So this is probably not beginner friendly. If you are a beginner and you're watching this, most important things at this point are form, form, form. Always make sure your form is perfect. If you are trying to do all of these progress indicators, you're increasing the reps, the weights, the sets, this and that, and your form is really, really shit, then you're not going to see any progress. And even worse, you're going to have an injury. You're going to cause an injury. You might be out of the gym for a bit. You might be scared to go back. So listen to your body. Know your limits. But if you are a beginner, start slow. Just get used to being in the gym, exercise consistently, just turning up and going. Don't rush into everything, and form. Even if you've been training for a while, maybe you're starting a new exercise or you're trying a new exercise, but even if you're not, I do this all the time, but please make sure your form is good before you ever try and increase the weight, mainly, and kind of push yourself too much. But that is it, really. Obviously, any questions live, great, but any questions that you have, just drop them in the comment section below. If you are watching this back on YouTube, comment on those. If you're watching this back and you're one of my girlies, then DM me if we're doing one-to-one coaching. If you're on my group coaching program, then pop and ask, hashtag ask into our group chat, and I'll get back to you on that. But I hope you found that super useful. And that is everything progressive overload.